Okay, a few things real quick. Um, Again, and I say this, and I'll be saying this every week for the rest of the year, or the next year anyway. It's 250 years ago the American Revolutionary War was going on. It was well underway, and actually next July 4th will be the 250th anniversary of the signed Declaration of Independence. And so there's a nationwide effort out there called the America 250 Commission that's celebrating all year long the founding of our nation and the Declaration of Independence. And Stand Up for Idaho is actually part of that, and we do things, and we've actually teamed up with Jolene Thomas and KID News Radio 106.3 till we put on a commercial every day. It's about a minute commercial saying something, and then actually every Thursday, so tomorrow night at 5 on Jolene's show, we have some ladies here from Stand Up for Idaho actually going to be on her show and just talk a bit about what happened 250 years ago. Okay, and again, I want to thank Jolene and KID News Radio 106.3 so much for it, and actually just a shout out to her and whatnot. Her talk show is actually by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association was voted #1 in the state, and so it's great. And so let's give her a hand. And I'm so happy that she supports us and is here. Okay, we're on Rumble. We had a good turnout last week. Okay, we had right at 200 people in here for the mayoral race. We don't have quite that here tonight. We'll have some more coming in. Obviously, the mayoral race is a little bit more contentious, I guess, or a little competitive on that aspect. We are on Rumble. We do have a YouTube channel. We stopped using YouTube because YouTube started censoring us. And that's one thing that we wouldn't do, is if a politician wants to come up and talk about something, that's them. That's not on us. But YouTube started censoring us and taking our content off. And so we quit using YouTube and started using the others and ended up over in Rumble. Well, I was requested because of last week to start back up on YouTube. Okay, so we're starting back up on YouTube until they kick us off again. We are on YouTube. We're on Rumble, YouTube, X, which is formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram. We are doing what we can to try and get the word out. Now, I will ask you to please go to Rumble, go to YouTube, go to both of them, sign in, sign up, do that, subscribe to us, like us, do all of those things, because we don't charge for this, but if sooner or later, if I get enough people to start doing these things, then we will get some ad revenue. So far on Rumble this week, for last week's viewing, has almost 2,000 views. Okay? I have no new subscribers, and I have 0 likes. Now, come on, folks. I'm asking you, let's do this, because it is something. We need things like this. I firmly believe that we need things like Stand Up for Idaho to be able so that you can actually ask your question, and that it's a way of civil discourse of where, again, we can ask our own questions. On that too, and again with the America 250 thing, Stand Up for Idaho has commissioned this flag, and it's an amazing wood carved flag, and it is commemorating the 250th anniversary. We're raffling this off. $20 a ticket, okay? And it's a bit of a fundraiser for us and everything. And so we're going to be selling tickets from now until July 4th. I know everybody's a procrastinator. I don't need to buy until next year. Well, okay, that's great. But it would be wonderful if people would chip in and help us this, because, again, we don't charge for our meetings. We don't do this, and unfortunately, nothing is free. So I'd appreciate that. Now, one thing, and before I get started on turning this over, we have this. Last week we had the mayoral race. This week we have seat 2. In 2 weeks we'll have seats 4 and 6, and actually tonight there are 2 candidates for seat 2 that can't make it. They will be here then too. I encourage the candidates, and the supporters and everybody, that if you support a candidate, why not come out and support them? Come and get in, be in the audience in that, because there's nothing more disheartening than being up here and having your opponent have all the cheering section and you don't have a cheering section. Okay, so it's actually up to the candidate to get your supporters here, because that's what makes the difference. Okay, so I'll encourage all of that, and I know that we have a mixture of those, and 2 weeks from now I hope that they're listening to do that, and they'll bring their supporters. Okay, next week we're actually going to take a break from politics per se, and we're going to have public defenders Jason Gustavus and Jordan Crane will come and talk about what the public defender role is and take questions and answer questions. Actually, a few months ago, prosecuting attorney Randy Neal came in and talked about certain things, and anyway, the public defenders wanted to be able to have their turn. And so we're going to have them. They were actually scheduled to come last August 6th, but we had some technical difficulties, and so we had to postpone that. But they'll be here next week, and that will be a great one. The following week is on the 22nd will be the candidates for seat 4, 6, and the remainder for seat 2. Okay, I'm going to invite the candidates that are here tonight. Please come on up here, and while they're getting up, I'm going to turn this over to Jolynn Thomas, and she's going to read the rules. Let's give Jolynn a big hand, and let's give the candidates a big hand for coming up. And thank you all for coming.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, good evening, everybody. It's good to have you out here, and this is going to be a really great opportunity to get to know these candidates and where they stand on the issues. And you guys get to ask the questions. So we are, in the interest of having so many candidates, going to cut the response times down just a little bit. So each candidate will begin with an opening of 3 minutes. That's your time to just really put that out. And then the responses to the questions are going to be 1.5 minutes. And if a candidate is mentioned by name, then that candidate will get a rebuttal of 1.5 minutes. And then when we wrap up the questions, then each candidate will get a closing statement of 3 minutes. And so when you're ready to ask your question, come up, and we'd ask you to just wait right there behind that blue line. Come up, and you'll have 45 seconds to ask that question. Rod here is going to be timing for us. This is 20 seconds or 15? 15 seconds. When you see that yellow card, that means start wrapping it up. And the red card means stop. So keep an eye on that. 1.5 minutes really does kind of fly by. So Rod is there just to help. And we really want to make sure that we follow those time guidelines so that every candidate gets the opportunity for that equal time. So with that being said, we just ask that everyone in the audience be courteous to all the candidates. It takes a lot of strength and courage to get up here. And so be excited, be passionate, but just remember, it really takes a lot to get up here and face a crowd and answer the tough questions. So we're going to get started right now meeting these candidates. So we'll start right here with Brad, and you can go ahead with your 3 minutes. Not yet. Let's.
No, that sounded good. Anyways, I'm Brad Whipple, running for seat 2 like everyone up here. Born and raised in Idaho. I've got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, a master's in computer science. I spend my time during my day job working for a cybersecurity company where we provide services to utilities like electric utilities and the DoD, securing their environment and helping them manage cybersecurity risk. I also founded a company in 2017 called Field Plug. I spent 6 years in the military, so I got to experience what it's like living out of a tank for weeks on end out in the desert. and having a dead cell phone. And so I made a company where I've designed a phone charger that works in any military vehicle, essentially. And so that's been going strong since 2017. I've got units all over the world, so that's probably one of the things I'm the most proud of. Myself and my wife have also been in the process of developing some property out in Mackay. We're building an RV park, and so that is sort of my first experience in local government, and experiencing firsthand what it's like to go through P&Z and the county commissioners and understanding how these decisions happen locally. And so that's when I first started thinking that maybe I want to run for politics. And sort of the call to arms, if you would call it that, is I started looking at other candidates, other mayoral candidates, and believe personally and fundamentally that their policies could harm Idaho Falls, and decided to throw my name in the hat, or throw my hat in the ring, and put my own policies there.
All right, Jordan, go right ahead.
Testing, testing. My name is Jordan Bardsley. I am not a native to Idaho Falls, but I do love to call it home. 44 years of age. I'm a Taurus. I love the color blue. No, I don't have any military experience or anything of that sort. I am a proud single mother of 2 wonderful daughters who have essentially grown up here. I love to call Idaho Falls home. I've got some really good friends and a pseudo family of sorts here. I work for the state of Idaho, within the Department of Health and Welfare. I also am an assistant coach with a local boxing gym, Razor's Edge Boxing. So I'm an official coach with USA Boxing. So I see a friendly face out there. It's fine. Yeah, I've never done anything like this before. My oldest daughter essentially called the challenge to me in regards to the political climate of sorts on what to do, how to do it, and I start small. Start with yourself, with our family, with our friends, with our school, ultimately the community, and this came open, so I've got to practice what I preach and be part of the process.
And Mosy.
Hi, my name is Mosy Moran. First off, I love energy, so real fast, can we just give a round of applause for Stand Up Idaho and Idaho Falls in general real fast? Come on. Yeah. I appreciate. I'm a big person on connection and collaborating. I'm a big believer in connection and collaborating. All I really want to do at the end of the day is make sure that we are having positive discussions and really bringing the community together in a lot of ways. I'm a local business owner. I'm a dad. I'm in love with self-expression and art. I love when people can stand up and say, hey, this is what I'm about, and we can appreciate that. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, but that's not up for us to decide. Really, at the end of the day, the 3 things that I want to focus on, I can't wait for all the questions, but my main focuses are to talk about the government transparency, local business advocacy, and public transportation. Because those are the things that the people in my community, the people I'm connected with, from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, it affects everybody. And I make my whole day is focus on connecting with people literally all the time. I talk to people, I learn about their lives, and I learn so many things. My favorite answer to questions is, I don't know. And and the reason why is because if you can say, I don't know, you can listen a little bit better, and you can really connect more, and you can learn something. Most of the policies and most of the reason why I run my business the way I do, the way I treat people the way I do, is because I've listened and I've connected with people, and they've shown me what they need me to be, and what they showed me what I need to be for myself as well. So thank you everybody for having me.
And Teresa.
There we go. We did it. My name is Teresa Dominick. I've lived in Idaho Falls for over 15 years. My husband Jared and my son Lane and I have been here. My husband and I have been married for over 20 years, and we've raised our family here. We've our extended family has moved here, and we really love the friendly atmosphere and the personal connection and the small town feel that Idaho has always been. However, in the last 4 or 5 years, we have noticed that has kind of shifted in a different direction with the overdevelopment and the large amount of multifamily units. So we just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I think a lot of these people up here, we need to stand up and do something if we want to see a change in the direction of this city. So that's why we're standing up. My husband's running for seat 4. That's why we're standing up, because we want to make a change for the good, to bring back the small town atmosphere of Idaho Falls.
All right, Christopher.
I'm a theater person, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to talk like this. Thank you, Mosy. My name is Christopher Joseph Brunt. I have to be on the mic? Oh, okay. I will. I'll abide. My name is Christopher Joseph Brunt. I'm going to cheat a little bit here on this because we're working on our forum next week, and I was emailed this little blurb from a couple of really, really cool kids from Compass Academy, for those of you who know where that school is. And they have a good grasp on this, so I wanted to share this with you all. This is a good introduction to myself. So Christopher Joseph Brunt is a 46-year-old lifelong resident of Idaho Falls. He's one of 7 candidates running for seat 2 of the Idaho Falls City Council. Chris aims to serve his community by ensuring everyone has a voice, and he believes that representation is crucial. Inspired by his family and their political history, his great-grandmother ran for mayor, and that's true. Brunt emphasizes his interest in politics and his commitment to the role of city council as he aims to make a positive impact on his community. So that's the best introduction I could give you all. My family has been in Idaho Falls for 129 years, and I'm looking forward to, hopefully with your trust and with your allowing me to do so, be on the role of city council to also have an effect on this city as my family has. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And we are ready to begin with questions.
Yeah, I need to make a comment. Okay, well, like I said earlier, we have a lot of people that actually watch us online and live stream and all this. They can't hear you if you don't use a microphone. Okay, so be sure to use the microphone and talk clearly into the microphone. And if you have battery run out, let me know. Maybe borrow your neighbors, okay? Okay, just so everybody knows, that's the only way that the people watching can hear, is by using the microphone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So if you want to come up and begin, and we will start our first response. We're going to work our way down so everybody gets an opportunity to be first. We'll start with Jordan.
Oh, thanks. A little baptism by fire. Let's go.
We ready?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi there. I like y'all. And I have a sheet of paper here that has the Idaho Falls 2026 budget in it. And our nation right now is our government is shut down. And it's shut down for what represents 25% of the Idaho Falls budget, which is intergovernmental spending. And it includes things like Medicare or Medicaid and the FAA. So your budget that you'll be jumping into, it may be there or may not be there. What's your feeling about that?
Well, for me, I already volunteer my time with coaching. I don't get paid for that. I'm a shirt off my back kind of gal, so I have no problem. I'm not in this for the money by any means, so I do it for free.
Do I just start?
Yes, go right ahead, Mosy.
At the end of the day, nothing's really promised. So if we don't have a certain budget, we just have to work with what we have to work with. At the end of the day, my whole goal would be to prioritize differently. I've been I'm a small business owner, and then I've also worked in childcare as well. And when you work with in a small business or in childcare, you know that you're going to have to deal with curveballs. So if we go into being a city council person and we have less of a budget or we have no budget at all, you know what? We're still going to have to live and work. So at the end of the day, we'll see how that looks. But prioritization of our resources is going to be a big deal.
All right, and Teresa.
Yep, I do agree with Mosy. I said it right that time. He doesn't like Mossy. I agree with him. As part of the job of city council, we need to problem solve, and we need to figure out how to adjust the budget to accommodate for what we have. What we have is what we have. So we need to put our heads together and figure out how we can accommodate the money that we do have if we do lose funding.
All right, thank you. And Christopher.
I agree with what has been said here. Obviously, this is our job. This is what we're supposed to be doing. One thing I will say, though, is the one thing that I would like to see if adjustments need to be made is that the input of our employer, the people of Idaho Falls, is put first. That needs to be there first. Yes, money's less, but what we have to do is we need the transparency given to the people saying, this is the money we have. What would you like done with that money? Where are your priorities? You are our boss. What do we do with this? That's what I believe.
So I've worked with the feds before. One of my biggest customer right now is the feds, and shutdowns are nothing new. This has happened before. The hope is that the feds will get, our congressmen will kind of get their butt in gear, get things funded, and so that we can anticipate seeing that 25%. Now that's the risk. Are we asking people to work unpaid? I mean, that's what the federal government typically asks of its employees. Now, if that 25% isn't guaranteed, then that's going to represent a drop in services that the city can provide.
All right, next question.
Okay, this is for everyone. Will you support and continue the work of the Imagine IF, the 2030 plan, and the 15-minute walkable cities that our government is doing right now?
I don't intend to endorse any particular plan. I think that all the plans that we have set forward right now need to be revisited on if I'm on city council have more access to the metrics and the different studies that have been done. I think that there's some changes that need to happen. I am a big fan of social gatherings and getting people together, and so having walkable areas would be amazing. But there are definitely problems with the current plan that I think need to be revisited. But that is I think one of the biggest issues with having the walkable cities. I believe in public transportation. I think it's something that we need. I think it's something that helps every person in the walk of life. And if we're going to have walkable areas, we need to get to those walkable areas. And there's a lot, and 45% of Idaho is transportation insecure. And if we're going to actually connect people, we have to start on the level of connecting one side of the city to the other side of the city. So to fully answer your question, I think things need to be revisited. And I think we need to do that in a smart and strategic way.
All right, Teresa.
I absolutely do not agree with the Imagine IF plan. It's one of the reasons why I'm up on this stage right now, because I read it and it terrified me. It's the reason for all of the high density growth that we're seeing in this city. It's the reason why they want to bring us down into a 15-minute city or a walkable neighborhoods. It's just not what the city or what the citizens of Idaho Falls want to see for their city. And you can see it on a daily basis. It's affecting us. It makes me sick to my stomach to drive down by Home Depot. And it's the reason why I'm here, and no, we cannot keep going down this path.
And Christopher, same question to you.
To answer the question directly, no, I don't support it. This is a room full of very upset people. Not only is this why I think we're all here, this is why you're all here. And with that being the case, any plan that we implement that is determining the direction of the city needs to be your plan, our plan. not a bunch of people that want to lead you around by the nose and tell you how you're supposed to live your life. This needs to be the city's plan, and I would actually engage for a motion to have at least a 51% approval rating of any plans moving forward so we know the town is behind it, and that would include possibly a revisit once a year so we know people are still behind what we're doing. The rate this town is growing, you got to have that.
Next question. Come on up. Oh,
we didn't-
you didn't answer. That's all right.
So let me handle some pieces. The 15-minute walkable city. My understanding is the driving force behind this is federal grants. So if we say no to 15-minute walkable cities, we're saying no to a lot of taxpayer dollars that we're funding out and then not able to get back. I know that there's a lot of frustration with the growth in Idaho Falls. We're seeing apartment buildings, we're seeing townhomes. This is a manifestation of the drop in quality of life in America. If we say no to this, because we haven't moved towards apartment buildings. We haven't stopped building single family houses. We're still doing that. They're just $450,000. And I've talked to the developers. There's not a lot of room to make that, to lower the cost. In fact, it's gotten worse because of the impact fees. So those impact fees I'd like to see reduced across the board. I've talked to one developer, they went from no impact fees to $600,000 in impact fees. That's the homeowner that pays for that. That's not, the developer's not a nice guy that's just gonna pay for it. So as far as the high density housing, I think that is an unfortunate reality of what we're experiencing today. And until we get, we break this addiction from printing money, this is gonna be the onward trend. And that's where I stand on that. We have to allow it, or else we'll condemn an entire generation to not being able to afford a roof.
Unfortunately, a lot of people cannot afford a roof right now. I agree with everybody up here in regards to the high density housing. It is sad to drive down and see what was once a field now apartment complexes, just stagnant, it's an eyesore. Outside of the walkable city and Imagine IF, I share the sentiment with these guys. So yeah, I want to keep Idaho Falls, and what I came to love of it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for running, and I know that's not an easy thing to do, so thank you. My question is about communication with the constituents, with the residents of Idaho Falls. Right now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but at a city council meeting, the public is able to come and speak for 3 minutes, but you can't speak about anything that's on the city council agenda for that night. And the city council and the mayor do not have to respond to anything you say. And so I'm wondering how you guys feel about that, and if you think those rules are good and why you would think they were good, or you would be for changing those rules.
Okay, this is a hot button for me. We've been to city council meetings, and we know how they've run. We've been the only two in the meeting. They already had all of their agenda and their votes already decided during their work session. So the meeting just seemed like it was just a show. Everybody said yes, and they moved on. There was no opportunity for, like you said, no opportunity for communication from the residents to the city, or the citizens to the city. The city's pretty good at putting out information to the citizens. They can put out when our streets are going to be plowed, or when the pool's open and stuff like that, but there's zero opportunities for citizens to talk to the city council and the mayor. So what we're proposing is that we have, much like this, a quarterly meeting where up on stage is going to be the mayor, the city council, and the department heads that can answer questions in real time. And also a Q&A kind of hotline type of situation, not an AI hotline, but a QA hotline, question and answer hotline, that the questions and the answers will be on the website. So everybody can see what's going on, what other people are complaining about. We just need to put the citizens of Idaho Falls first, and not the future residences, like it seems like it is now.
It's a hot button for me too. You're our boss. The people are our boss. How could you run a business where everybody that's making the decisions, or is supposed to be making the decisions, is not dependent upon input from the person that owns the company? The people of Idaho Falls own Idaho Falls, and they should be the ones that determine the direction of anybody making the decisions for the future people of Idaho Falls. That's a no-brainer to me.
So it certainly seems odd that you wouldn't be allowed to speak on issues. That kind of puzzles me as well. Now I'm more familiar with P&Z meetings, and those can get very contentious. So I do understand the 3-minute limit. Other planning and zoning meetings I've been to, it's in 5 minutes, because if you have 30 people that want to speak, it'll just take forever. Now, as not being able to speak on the current issue, I don't have any, that does seem very odd. I know that the city council at times will be acting in a quasi-judicial body. And so if they can either hear things as a de novo review or be limited to the record in an appellate capacity, without specifics. But if they're handling things in an appellate capacity, they are forced to not hear any more evidence from the public. Otherwise, they're opening themselves up to a lawsuit. But I don't know the specifics. It does seem very odd that they would not hear public comment about what they're deciding on that night.
I too am very uncomfortable with the lack of the participation of the people of Idaho Falls. So I would agree with you that it would need to be revisited. It would need to be changed to a certain extent. So, like Christopher said, the people of Idaho Falls, who it is affecting, have a say, can get their questions answered before a decision's already made without their consent.
So it is the responsibility of the people governing to connect with the people that they are governing over. So I want to talk about a very practical solution in order to connect the people of the Idaho Falls to the government of Idaho Falls. And it's something that I do on a regular basis, and a lot of businesses do on a regular basis. Matter of fact, I'll pose it as a question and see how you guys feel about it. It wouldn't really be, how hard would it be for city council or somebody in the city when the city council has decided what they are talking about to do a quick 30-second video saying, we are talking about this, this, and this. And then the day after city council decides something, they say, we have decided this, this, and this. In both of those contexts, you can then comment on social media. You can then engage on whatever platform you want, and we have a clear explanation of what's happening, not a whole bunch of questions being not a whole bunch of just jumbled up things that we have to watch a 2-hour live stream video on their website of. Does that seem pretty reasonable? So it's pretty reasonable to do a 30-second video, right? It's really not that hard. I can film it in 5 minutes. I can edit it in 10. And it's not that hard to do, and it's the responsibility of city council to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that comprehensive plan again.
In the mic.
I'm going to come back to the comprehensive plan again. I want to speak about a specific area, and that's 25th and Holmes. So I feel sad, Brad, that you think that this is a trend and we kind of have to just roll over. I very much disagree. That's why we're here. That's why you're there. We can develop this like we want. How do you feel that a 4-story buildings are placed right next to a subdivision? I want to know what you think about that. And what could you change in that comprehensive plan to make it fit in more with its surrounding areas? Maybe where could you put those 4-story ones instead of right next to a subdivision? How do you feel about impact fees being diverted like they are right now, instead of taking care of the area, going for a park somewhere else?
Yes. Go ahead, Christopher.
Thank you. You know, especially Hit Road in that area there, I look at Ammon and I think, man, the dependency upon corporate planning and corporate building there is a little bit worrisome. There's not a good balance between, local businesses and that kind of thing as well. And it's a sprawl. It's a sprawl. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I call it Little Utah. I don't like being in that area. I think, but again, I'm going to go back to what I was saying before. I think it's super important that on whatever plan we have going forward, that we have the input of the people, especially the people living in that area. Representation is more important than leadership at this point. It's super important that we are doing what the people want. And the people of Idaho Falls, we all know what we want this town to look like. We all know what we want this town to feel like. And that's why they're the people to ask that question to.
So I do have a problem with 4-story buildings right next to residential houses, right? There's the obvious looking of like, there's a 4-story window somewhere. Where's that 4-story window looking to, right? And I have some very close to my neighborhood. Now, this is a simple supply and demand issue, right? Idaho Falls has become desirable to live. Now, we could try and change the demand by making Idaho Falls an insufferable place to live, jacking up taxes, increasing crime, but talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. And so the only thing that we can affect is demand. Now, if we limit the demand, one of two things will happen. The prices will skyrocket, right? That's what Bozeman did. And houses now cost, the median house price there is like $800,000. I don't know if you have kids or grandkids, but if you ever want them to be able to live in this town, you have to allow building. That's the unfortunate truth. The other thing that will probably most likely happen, because Idaho Falls does not operate in a vacuum, they'll go elsewhere, right? They'll go to Ammon. So they'll go build in Ammon for less impact fees, easier building department to work with. Ammon will get the tax base, Idaho Falls will get the traffic, right? We're paying for the sins of our father. We have a lot of east-west traffic right now because what we tried to do in the 70s was tell people no, businesses went to Ammon, and this is the position we're in. And unfortunately, like the apartments, we haven't stopped building houses. It's just the apartments are what people can afford.
All right.
Disagree.
Teresa? I'm sorry, Jordan.
It's okay. I've been called worse. It's fine. It's no offense. Yeah, and like I had said previously, it is an eyesore. I was just in that area on my lunch break today on 25th and Holmes. It is an eyesore. How to fix it? Honestly, I'm not as smart as this guy or, some of these other folks, but that's what I want to become better at, to learn, to seek the answers from the people that it does affect, because unfortunately, I am not a homeowner. I rent. It is a single-family home, but I rent. I unfortunately cannot afford to buy, but I would not want a cookie-cutter 4-story apartment complex to call home. So, yeah, that's that.
Sounds like we all agree on the type of buildings that we don't want. That sounds like that's across the board. And representation matters a lot, and what we build should reflect what the people want at the same time. I'm a big practical solution person. I like to have at least some semblance of a plan. One of the things that we're talking about is impact fees. One of the plans that I have, one of the ideas that I have, is a local business registry that is tied to incentives, not incentives to build here, but incentives to focus on local businesses. At that point, a developer who's building something would need to use. We would have a registry of local verified businesses that are we know is local, and if developers use a certain amount of that, they have incentives when it comes to utilities, impact fees, and stuff like that, in order to focus on the local community. And when we do that, it's not inviting more people to build a whole bunch of developments, but it is inviting people to focus on our local community and keep money in Idaho Falls. And if we do that, we have local businesses growing. Local business has more power, and guess who's going to be building more? Locals. So at that point, that is what I would like to focus on, because it's really hard to regulate. So I'd rather incentivize developers to focus on the local community and really lift up those buildings, those businesses, so we can make sure that we have that representation.
You hit on yet another hot button for me. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. This is the population growth of Idaho Falls. It's kind of a nice steep slope going like a really smooth slope going like this. This is a graph of the housing units, the permits that were issued from 21 to 23 or 21 to 24. Of the 6,000 multi-unit, multi-family housing units, 3 to 20 plus, over 40% of them were issued between 2021 and 2024. That is when Imagine IF took effect. This is all because of Imagine IF, and we have to pump the brakes, shift. We can revise or adjust Imagine IF, the comprehensive plan for Idaho Falls, anytime we want. The city council can do it, and it needs to be done, because that's not what the citizens of Idaho Falls want to see.
All right. Next question.
So, pretty broad question, but I just want to know, in your opinion, what differentiates a good city council member from a not so good city council member?
All right. We'll begin right here with Brad.
That's potentially a contentious answer. I'd say experience and then policy, but primarily policy. You're going to want someone that represents your values, and you have a wide spectrum of values up here, and there's certainly two people that are not present for seat 2. That's the difference.
That is a very subjective answer, good and bad. Why are you laughing? He says experience. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm going to be blunt and honest with you. I have never run for office. I have never done anything city council-wise or anything of that sort, but I'm going to do it anyways. We need somebody who's going to roll their sleeves up, get dirty, not dirty, but, get in the fight and fight for the people of Idaho Falls, paycheck or no paycheck.
This is not a hard question. The answer to that question is a city council member needs to be an advocate. A city council member has to be connected to every single person in the community in some way, from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. It is not that hard to connect with this community. I know that. I've been here since living here since I was 14. I've been visiting since I was 12. It is not that hard to connect with our community. And if somebody on city council should be an advocate for everybody, and when people have their issues, they're able to listen, good, bad, ugly. They're able to stand up not only when they're on the city council at these meetings, but also in the community. I want to see city council people at the soup kitchen experiencing what people are experiencing. I want to see a city council person using GIFT when GIFT needs to make sure that GIFT is running correctly. I want to see city council people in the community. That's what makes a good city council person, is somebody who's connected fully to the community and can understand, not because they telephone did, but because they have the time and they have they taken the responsibility to actually show up in the community, connect with the community, and be a face of that community. It's really not that hard at all. The people who aren't great city council people, the people who don't understand, people who can't connect with people, and the people who can't show up. A good city council person, you're going to recognize them because they're going to be in your community.
Okay, what he said. Definitely agree that the city council members represent the citizens of Idaho Falls and the business owners of Idaho Falls. Like Mosy said, they need to be in the city. They need to be interacting with citizens, business owners, with the city employees. They need to be out discussing things with people and just representing the city as a whole as best they can.
I love this question. Let me tell you about what I would view as a bad city councilor. When I was young, there was a certain box store from Arkansas that decided to move right across the street from the house that I was raised in. And a certain council person decided to come over to our home, sit in our living room, and tell us, despite the fact that we were fighting for the rights of people who had invested in a home, who were counting on that home to be a nest egg for their retirement and their future and their family, we were told by this city council person, points to her for coming over to visit, but we were told by this council person to eat it. Now, I think recognizing the nods in this room from that statement, you all kind of understand exactly, and it hasn't apparently changed very much since my experience as a child. That has formed me, and it helped me to understand that that is not a good council person. A good council person listens to people. A good council person is an employee of the people of Idaho Falls. I cannot stress that enough. And a good council person does not go to someone's house when a large box store is knocking on the door and saying, eat it. It doesn't happen. A good council person says, what can we do to protect this neighborhood, protect this house, and make sure that this company can go somewhere else, be in our city, but not hurt the people of Idaho Falls.
All right. Next question.
Okay, this question's about the proper role of government, and what you guys think the proper role of government is. Is it the proper role of government to supplement certain businesses, kind of like gift, and businesses that actually compete against other businesses by small business owners like Uber drivers or something? So how do you guys feel about that?
All right, Jordan.
Wait, what? It's my turn?
It's your turn, yeah.
Well, I have quite a few friends, good friends at that, who are small business owners. And I apologize. Could you repeat the question? I got all flustered being first up again.
Yeah, so the proper role of government. Is it the proper role of government to supplement businesses like Gift? And Gift is actually competing against our citizens like an Uber driver.
Can I pass? I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Mosy. Go. Okay. Go.
I think a program like Gift isn't competing as much as it may seem, mainly because Gift is Uber is already it's already too expensive for a good amount of people in the community, and I know this because I've been in that community and I've shared those values. So there's always going to be overlap when it comes to anything that is a public service at all. That's why we have things like Medicaid and things like that. That's then competing with insurance companies. So there's always going to be that competition. Now, I do not think it is the role of the government to try to find ways to hurt the private businesses, but it is the role of the city government to try to make sure that we at least have equal opportunity for things like transportation, because there's some people who will never be able to afford Uber on a regular basis, and they need to get the jobs. There's seniors on fixed income who need to be able to get to their appointments and things like that. And so we need those services. And if we don't have them, then it's going to end up hurting them pretty badly. And those people are humans. And so even though so that's the role of the city government, is to recognize where there's issues and fill in where they can, while not hurting the competition.
How do you know where to draw the line?
Well, that's why we have a council where we all talk.
Teresa?
No, I don't think it should be the role of the city government to put in programs like this unless it makes sense financially. We really need to dig in, find out how much it's costing the city per ride, and does it make sense to continue this program, or is there another way? I tried to use Gift. We were going to the airport, and it never showed up. So, I mean, I haven't used it since then, but no, the city should not be involved in those types of decisions. And we just have to make common sense decisions on what's best in this case for the transportation, because I do agree that we do need some form of transportation, but I don't know if Gift is actually it, because it's not really transparent on how much is it costing the city per ride, or is it making money, is it losing money, is it just a income suck for the city? I don't know that answer at this point.
Christopher?
As a former taxi driver in Idaho Falls, I drove taxis overnight in Idaho Falls for 2 years. I've seen both sides of Idaho Falls. But I also saw Uber coming into town and basically emaciating the taxi services in Idaho Falls. So having seen that, and then we had TRIPTA. TRIPTA couldn't keep its record straight, so I remember the city council meetings on that. There was a lot of contentions on that. As far as your question, though, for subsidizing, I think we have the power and the ability to give a foot up to local businesses, whether it's like power discounts, utility discounts, things like that. And I think that is good. I think we should do that. But as far as completely funding projects, I think that's beyond the scope. I really do.
So my platform is generally a conservative one. I think the government should be small. I think it should be cheap and inexpensive. And so I'm generally not for meddling in the capitalist environment. However, that goes for housing as well, which I know is fairly unpopular in this room. However, Gift is largely federally funded. So everyone in this room is paying a whole lot of taxes to the feds, right? For every dollar we're spending locally, it's something like $25 federally, or I think it's about that $1 to $25 ratio. So if those grants are out there, it would be foolish for us to not try and get some of that money back into the community to provide services that we're already paying for. Without those federal funds, it doesn't make sense to me. I've looked at trying to do public transportation in Idaho Falls. I've looked at Pocatello, how they're running it. For them to pay for themselves, to have their 190,000 fare users, they'd all have to be paying like $34.12. That's not happening for public transportation. So it's all subsidized by the feds. And so if the money is there, right, we're already paying for it. We're paying for it whether we use the service, whether we get the grant or not. I'm all for getting those grants for something like Gift.
All right. Go ahead with your question.
Hi. See if I can clear my throat. I used to be the project manager for Subaru and the new building over there. Every meeting I've ever been to, planning and zoning or annexation, it's already been predetermined. You can go there and talk all you want, and it's meaningless. So my question is, how would you put an end to that? And it's similar situation with, we won the power loop. You remember the power loop? We won that in court. And the city council in the city turned around and bought a piece of property, 10 acres on the river, on North River Road, and put the power line across anyway. So we still have a 131 kV line going across the river. So how would you improve that?
That goes back to what the social media thing that I was talking about before. If we were to actually say what city council is doing ahead of time, then we can actually have public comment. Then we can actually connect with with the people a lot more, and then so then those things aren't decided before. Now we actually have public conversation, and we can keep them accountable to those things. That also goes into one of my key things, which is local business advocacy. If we're building in areas, people have different projects that they're trying to pass. Right now, at this time, the different departments are not talking very much at all. And it ends up hurting local businesses. It ends up hurting the communication across the board. So I think that there should either be a position or somebody needs to step up within the position that we already have to be an advocate for the local businesses, to listen to what their needs are, listen to what they have to, what they're trying to work on, and be able to bridge that gap of communication so that it's not an echo chamber where people are just sitting around making the decisions. Then we find out about it later. It needs to be a constant conversation, and somebody needs to be stepping in, whether it's a city council person, somebody in the development department, somebody needs to step in and say, hey, they're trying to do this, and you are stopping them from doing this, or they're trying to do this, this is how you help them. Hey, and you as a project manager, these are your steps you need in order to make what you need happen. That's the type of advocacy that needs to happen.
I 100% agree with Mosy. The city council represents the citizens of Idaho Falls, so the city council work sessions need to be open sessions. They can't just be an echo chamber where everybody agrees with everybody else. They get their marching orders, and then they have a ceremonial city council meeting that hardly anybody goes to because you can't talk at it, and then just say yay to everything, and it just cannot be behind the curtain any longer. Communication's the key. We need to get people involved. We need to know the city council work sessions agendas prior. So if we have an issue, we can be there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Christopher.
Simple answer. You elect people who understand their role. That is, this is a job, and we work for you. Plain and simple. Difference between representation and leadership. Absolutely.
All right.
So I mean, I can't speak on the specifics of your situation that you're describing. I have quite a bit of experience dealing with planning and zoning. Like I said, I've developed my own property that ultimately ended up me suing the county to go forward with that. The city council represents almost 70,000 residents. We have a fiduciary duty to protect the taxpayer. We do not sit as kings, right? We don't get to make up the rules. The city is a creature of the state. The state is a creature of the feds, of the federal government. And there's actually a lot of rules. Idaho's got the Local Land Use Planning Act. So there's limited authority that planning and zoning, city council has to do on how they rule on their decisions. Now the answer is, if there's something that doesn't make sense, where the city council can make that happen is in the comprehensive plan or Imagine IF. So if there's something that's like, hey, we couldn't block this time around because it would have been illegal for us to do so, we would have speed run a lawsuit costing the taxpayers a lot of legal fees to change that in the future. These planning and zoning commissions are unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, not a popularity contest. And that's part of what makes our country great, is we have a rule of laws that set up how these things run. So I guess, yeah, that's my answer, is this would have to be handled prior to the planning and zoning meeting if something's in there that's permissive, that doesn't make sense.
All right, Jordan.
I agree with Teresa and Mosley. We do need to drop the curtain, bring the public into the working sessions so there can be a conversation. Oh. So there can be an open, candid conversation about the needs of Idaho Falls and the people of Idaho Falls, not just brought to the table and go, oh, yep, okay, check that box, on to the next. There needs to be a discussion.
All right, next.
Government money comes with strings every single time. Sometimes it's time limits, and when the time limit comes up, then we end up paying for it. So in the case of Medicaid, my question is, do you support more annexation of the county into the city? Thank you.
All right, Teresa.
I think it has to be evaluated with the citizens in mind and each project specifically. So if it makes sense for the citizens and if it makes sense for Idaho Falls, then yes, I think it's a good idea, but not without public hearings and people understanding what the implications are for bringing that property into the city and what are the real reasons for doing that.
I mean, I hope I've made my positions fairly clear by now where I stand. I'll say it again: the people are our boss, you know, in this role. And if the people want more space, then that's what we should be working towards getting. But how can we determine yes or no on that unless we've been told, you know? And that's what we need to wait for. Absolutely. I think we need to work with the space we have, to be frank.
I mean, we've already talked a little bit about Idaho Falls is growing. Growth is not possible without annexation. Annexation is probably one of the most hotly debated things in local government, right? You have someone who's lived in the county, who's near the city. They haven't enjoyed the county life. I get that. But you also have owners, you know, the farmer out there, he wants his property to be annexed because they can now subdivide that up and build homes for people. It's a tough situation. Growth is not possible without annexation. Right? I mean, even you look at Idaho Falls. What was Idaho Falls like 20 years ago? Well, of course it was smaller. We've annexed property to allow for that growth to happen. It has to happen. Like every city annexes property.
So the growth of Idaho Falls, I come from a larger city metropolitan area of sorts. It's okay. It's not the best. I love Idaho Falls. I want growth for progress, not for change. I don't want to turn this into a mini Boise or a mini Salt Lake or anything of that sort. It needs to stay small in regards to farmers splitting up their property. Those are the same people we need to talk to. Don't sell your land to the highest bidder. You know, there is a reverence here in Idaho Falls for the land. And that's, I'm a little crunchy, so I agree with that. You know, I too have a reverence for the land, and I don't want it to be monopolized.
Representation, absolutely, and intention matters, and how we do that matters, because we are going to grow. When it comes to annexing, I think it really is a case by case basis, and we should be listening to everybody and actually being intentional on those things. The thing that I want to kind of talk about is the fact that the Bonneville County has a bigger budget than Idaho Falls, and so if we're not going to be annexing things, or we're not going to be working in that capacity, we at least need to see about why we have such a weird relationship between Idaho Falls, Ammon, and Bonneville County, and see how we can actually work together a little bit more. So that way, we may not have to annex, but we have more of a symbiotic relationship. And because at this point, it's like it's kind of weird. Most people don't understand what each has to do with the other. There's some Idaho Falls services that are connected, like the fire department, to the Bonneville County, then Ammon is not. And so we need to talk about the relationships between all the people in this area and see if we can heal that divide, so that annexing isn't something that we need to do, but the symbiotic relationship is something that we can pour into our area more and make it make sense to the community in a whole. So when it comes to annexing, maybe annexing is an answer, but really, in my opinion, the relationship between all these other surrounding areas is a better answer, so we can have a symbiotic relationship with each other.
All right, next question. Come on up.
All right. So my question pertains to community engagement, which you guys have obviously answered a couple questions about tonight. But mine's a little bit different. And so I came to the mayoral forum here just a little while ago, and I asked the candidates a similar question to what I'm about to ask. And one of the three of them said that, so for context, my question pertains to community involvement specifically from younger generations of people. And one of the three candidates told me that the reason that you see a lack of involvement from young people comes from a lack of interest from young people, which is just an entirely deplorable answer, in my opinion. And it is the government's responsibility to be open and transparent with their citizens of any generation and to include them in the decision-making process, or you end up with a group of uninformed and incompetent voters, because they're not just young people. They are the next generation of people that will be running the country, not just in the city, but on the federal level. What are your plans to get them involved?
Okay, yep.
Thank you for that question. Yes, thank you. I got to stick my head in the back there at that forum, and I heard that, and I was really upset with all the answers to your question. So I'm glad you posed it again. Thank you. Just think how easy it would be, and I'm speaking for myself, thinking back to when I was younger. If you knew that people in a position of power and authority had to listen to you, that would probably make it a priority a bit more to be involved. And I think, just like everybody else in here who seems to understand that the city council doesn't seem to care, or at least they're implying that they don't, it's kind of hard for anybody at any age to be interested in involvement with the city council. So I think a key to that, to answer your question, is to have people who are in a position that equate representation before leadership, and that young people especially know that your voice is important to make the city move.
The short answer is I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to solve voter apathy. And it's not just young people, right? Like the 2021, I think 4 years ago, these same seats were up for vote. There's only like 9,000 people that voted in that election. How do I solve that? I don't know. I can tell you I'm not going to spend government resources to do it, though. We have public schools. We have political courses. I remember being young, and to be honest, like I wasn't interested in politics. And kudos to you, you're here, but as you look around and I look out at the crowd, you're probably the youngest one here, and you are unique in that way. I don't think it's the government's job to solve voter apathy. There's a limited amount that we can do, and it's nice to say, oh, I'm going to solve it, but then the taxpayers have to pay for it. No, I don't believe so, because then all these people have to pay for that, right? And so I think the government does a decent job at transparency, right? Everything's open. You can go to P&Z meetings. You can go to public hearings. I've looked up Mosy's thing. He had a run-in with the city council. All that's recorded. You can go view that. I think it's more of the citizens' job, right? Where are your peers?
Okay, if you have to ask another question, can you get back in line so it's fair to everyone else?
I'd love to chat after.
And we need you to be on the mic, because those who are not here can't hear those questions. So if you have a follow-up, please, we invite you to get back in line. We'd love to hear it.
In regards to involving the younger generation and the youth, I can only speak to what I've done with me and my children. My oldest was senior class president of her high school. My youngest, I encouraged her. She is in student government as well. And probably quite a few of you are familiar with Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Ring. People, like, you need to get involved and you need to show that passion and applaud who are in the ring and doing it. Lead by example. I know, and you're doing a great job by, like he said, probably the youngest one here. But yeah, you've got to connect with the younger generation with the older generation too, and bridge that gap. So that's my 2 cents.
I'm honestly starting to get frustrated over the fact that I'm not hearing a lot of plans, and I really want to hear some practical plans. I am currently doing that, and if I am paid on city council, that is what that money is for. It's for the planning and it's for the connection. That is what I plan on spending my it's not even extra time. It is time that the people of the city are paying for. Check out my social media. I'm doing it. Like, that's how you connect people. If you go look for my cards, look for my pins, they're on young people. I'm connecting with young people all the time, and they do want to vote. They don't know that they could vote early. They don't know that they can vote from the October 20th to the 31st. They think they have to lose out on work. They think that that their vote doesn't matter because they're not represented already. So social media, being in the community, showing up. That's how we do that. That is an actual practical plan. Making these videos, it's not that hard. We can really connect with people, and it's not something that we can say, oh, we need somebody that can. Just do it. It's not that hard. We have the way to do this. These are not hard things to figure out. The practical solution is to use the tools we have. It is not that expensive to shoot a video on my Galaxy phone. I can do it and send it out right now. I could edit it before the next question's done.
The event next week at Compass Academy, I think, is a perfect event for displaying what we can do as city council members. We need to engage with the schools. Each city council member can have 1 or 2 schools that they directly engage with, that they directly visit, and have the event like the Compass Academy Forum. It's been a fantastic experience working with the students of the academy. You had yours. We had one similar to that. I mean, we need to engage the youth of the community because it is the future of the community.
All right, thank you. Next question.
Hi, thank you for coming here. I appreciate you guys all. Oh, I'm 5 feet tall, sorry. 1,000 pardons. Okay. Idaho Falls is growing, which puts a strain on our first responders. What will you, I'm asking all of you, what will you guys do to help them? Will you help with their budget? Will you work with them? Will you work with the mayor to make sure that they have what they need for the equipment, for payroll, for anything? That's all I ask.
Okay. Brad, right? Let's see. Teresa? Yeah. Oh, did you do last time, right? No. We lost. Yeah,
I'll go
have it
first.
down here
We'll
that
just-
it's Brad, and then we'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I spoke with the fire union, and I spoke with the Fraternal Order of Police. So I'm pretty well aware of the resource strains that they have. The city of Idaho Falls is kind of in a tight spot when it comes to budget. I think it's House Bill 389. We can only adjust the budget by 3% every year. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like everything has gotten a lot more expensive than 3% year over year. So we're sort of limited to use that budget how we can use it. But in talking with the Fraternal Order of Police as well as the firefighters, we're kind of the runway is running out. Right? They're having issues with hiring people, and they're having issues retaining people, and that's kind of a real risk for the taxpayers because it's very expensive to train a police officer. It's very expensive to train a firefighter. Now, one area specifically for budget that I would look to reduce the budget in Idaho Falls to free up room for possibly the police and the firefighters is probably the Parks Department. You can't have it all, so it's got to come from somewhere. And despite being 4 times the size of Ammon, Idaho Falls is spending like 9 times the amount on its Parks Department. So that's probably one specific area that I'd look to reduce that and increase the budget for the police and firefighters, because that is a priority of mine.
All right, Jordan.
My father was a police officer, so I understand the need of our first responders. I have friends who are retired IF firefighters as well. So I understand the need. for our first responders. They deal with people, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 at their worst. They need to be at their best. So I would want to look where we can allocate accordingly so they can get the resources they need so they can better serve their community.
So I think that's another thing. That's another relationship issue with the county and Ammon as well. Just like that annex question. Back in the '90s, I believe it's the '90s. Idaho Falls and the Idaho Falls and the county government, fire department they combined. Ammon did not do that, and yes, there were some hiccups within that, and some people were hurt by that. But at the end of the day, it now has made it so. It's now made it so we're able to respond better. There was a house in Ammon recently that ended up burning down when it absolutely shouldn't have burned down because they didn't have the same resources. I'm not exactly sure on the intricacies of that plan, but if we're able to pool our resources together a little bit better and have better relationships between the city, Bonneville County, and Ammon as well, we're going to end up in a lot better spot where we can support better and listen to the needs of all of our surrounding citizens, because it shouldn't be a turf battle. It should be support for every single department when it comes to the greater Idaho Falls area. I think that's a great way to support them, as well as looking into taking funding from other areas as well, if need be.
Yes, I 100% agree that we need to really support our first responders. And I also agree with Mosy that we need to get relationships, because we have the Bonneville County Fire District, we have Ammon, we have so many different, and they seem to be all going in different directions. So it seems like we could make better sense of the use of each of the first responders, rather than sending one out to Swan Valley, and if it's an EMS call, they can go into Ammon, but if it's a fire call, they can't go into Ammon. It just seems like the relationship in the area as a whole can be strengthened. And then obviously the budget is the budget, so we need to look and see where we can adjust the budget to make sure that our first responders are taken care of.
Christopher, go right ahead.
Thank you. My mother and father were first responders. My father was a governor-appointed state patrolman initially, and he transferred over to the Department of Transportation. And my mother was a nurse. Many people might remember her. Her name was Vonda Brunt. She worked in the LDS hospital and the Catholic hospital as a shift coordinator. So I grew up seeing how important resources were to those people. I grew up with a father who kivitzed all the time about how the state was allocating all the money to the state police after he transferred over to the Department of Transportation. So I know firsthand exactly how that affects people in that role. And I will answer your question directly. I will give you my pledge that I will work with those people to make sure that they are taken care of and that they are an integral part of our community. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Next question.
Right. Okay. All right, yeah, that's good. So it's been said a few times that the people are the boss, right? Now you guys will, whoever's elected, will be in a seat that will spend significantly more time investigating the issues at hand and working with professionals and administrators. My question is, in the hypothetical situation that you get into a spot where there's barriers or reasons that what the boss wants may not be synonymous with what's best for the community. So how do you deliver the bad news? How do you interact with the residents when they can't have what they want, in your opinion?
I think a lot of sympathy and empathy, and not necessarily rip the Band-Aid off, but sympathize with them to a point that you understand that you can't get them what they want. Not every kid gets what they want for Christmas type thing. But that you have done the work, that you've done what you can do to help meet those needs and those wants. Like I've said before, I can be quite brash. I can be very upfront. I can be very jovial, obviously, that's probably been witnessed a time or two already this evening. But realizing the humanity in our fellow citizens, I think, unfortunately, has been lost. I think I'm digressing quite a bit here, but the connection, the relationship with the community, just unfortunately, sometimes you're just gonna have to tell them straight up, like, I'm sorry, I did what I could. You know, what can we do better or less of or more of next time to make sure that it's met?
Just like I said before, connecting with the community beforehand and then also wrapping things up after it's going to be super important in order to make sure that we're having those communications. I was actually asked a very similar question at my meet and greet, and thank you for asking that question. I don't have any problem with putting somebody on blast. I don't have any problem with saying when something needs to happen. If I am a city council person and a city council person, another one is not doing their job, there should be a conversation. And if they don't start doing their job, I'm gonna talk to whatever mayor we have. And then if the mayor's not doing their job, guess who I'm gonna talk to? It's y'all. It's you guys. You're gonna see me talk. I don't plan on stroking anybody's ego. I'm not here to protect somebody. What I'm here for is to listen to you and to actually do something. If it's not if I'm not the liaison for a certain department, but it's something that the people care about, then I need to be an advocate and say, hey, my fellow council person, what are you doing? And then if nobody's standing up, then you're gonna see me make a video. And that video is not gonna be as nice as I usually am. I'm a very collaborative person, but the collaboration cannot happen if there isn't, if people aren't being held accountable for what their jobs are. So I don't care if I'm friends with the mayor, I don't care if I'm friends with the city council people. If they are not doing their job, we need accountability.
It always seems to come back down to communication. And I think in that case, I think you're saying that if there is a decision that's made by the mayor and city council and it doesn't go the way that the resident wanted it to go, how would you approach that resident? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah. So no, there has to be a compromise. There has to be open communication. When there is a specific issue, the city council needs to follow the process and take their votes and understand that the citizens want to go in a certain direction, and compromise, see if there's other solutions that we can develop other than the one that I can't really think of a specific example of what you'd say. If the city council didn't agree on it, it wouldn't happen. If it was 3-3 city council, then the mayor would do the tie. So I think that's the only scenario that, like, the mayor breaks the tie and then it goes one way and not the other. So I think the compromise and communication, it comes down to it as well.
You handle the situation with love and tact. That's the most important thing, and that's how you show that you are working for the people. That's where the boss comment comes from. You don't sit in someone's living room and tell them to eat it for the community. I can tell you that right now. And that's what happened to me growing up. That's what happened to my family growing up. I will never do that. But if it comes down to that hypothetical situation, you come to the person and you say, hey, this didn't go our way because, you work for that person. It comes down to that individual level, and it's important so that they know that you will be for them. You will be there for them every single time that you can be. And that's the best we can do.
So what you're describing is probably the hardest part of government. There's never a perfect solution. There's never an answer where everyone's a winner, right? The role of the government is we have a budget. We have to do the most good with that budget that benefits the most people of the 70 million people in Idaho Falls. And naturally, every decision, there's going to be someone that's upset. 70,000, sorry. Thanks for correcting me. That'd be a big city. We grew really fast. Explaining why the decision was made by a by the city councilors, it's required, at least for land use cases, for that decision to be explained. Usually that comes in the facts and findings document, but the best place is at the public hearing. And that role is not perfunctory. I mean, the Idaho Supreme Court has ruled on that to explain, like, this is why we made the decision, here's the competing facts that led up to this decision, this is the weight given to such facts. I think that's probably the best role as a professional. This is why we made the decision. This decision, I think, is going to benefit the most people. Naturally, any decision the city council makes, there's going to be some people that don't like it, but that's the hard part of government.
All right, next question. Step on up.
All right. Good evening. So obviously, it's understanding that we're growing. There's no way we're really stopping this. Even myself, I'm a transplant from 3 years ago after I got out of a 20-year career in the military. I moved here because of the way you've all talked about Idaho Falls and what you love about this. But the one thing I've noticed since I've been here in the 3 years is that the poor school infrastructure that we have. When I came here, it was already overcrowded, and this place has continued to build with failed school bonds. Now, I know we can't change the process of voting to increase that budget, but what can you do to help those who are opposed, increasing the city bond, approving the city bond, so that way we can help our children get the good education? Because right now Idaho is ranked around 29th in education in the U.S.
Okay, Mosy, go right ahead.
So that issue was actually my first little dip in politics years ago at a Pizza and Politics, talking about the school bonds. And the way that I see that is that's another communication thing, because I think most of those bonds probably would have passed if people understood how they could vote, when they can vote. But at the end of the day, we need to communicate better the state of the schools, because it seems really like back and forth. Some people are like, oh, it's great. Other people are, oh, it's not. But I think at this point, the job of a city council person, just like I was saying, is to show up in those schools. Go to IF high school, see them having lunch in the hallways and outside, sometimes in the winter, and actually connect with those crowds so we can communicate better and put out that information so we know the state of the schools and people can vote based on their values of the schools. Because I knew a lot of people who don't like the schools but didn't even know about the bonds. They didn't know that they could go vote for those things. So that's something that we need to just communicate better, the state of the schools, because we need to communicate the good things and the bad things. If you check out the Idaho Falls social media right now, it's all good things. I want to see some bad things talked about. I want to see the issues talked about. I want to see the things that make people go, oh, I want to get involved because that is not okay. I want to vote because that's not okay. And that's how we're going to affect our schools, is by not only educating our children, but educating the general population by being more transparent and being more intentional in that connection.
One of the things that we found out is that the city of Idaho Falls does not actually have control over the schools. It's the Idaho Department of Education. So I think our role as city councils members should be an advocate for the schools in Idaho Falls. Our role as city council should be people that require that the infrastructure is put in prior to building these developments. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Black Feather Apartments. It's over by Anderson. It's right next to Bush Elementary. They put 156 unit subsidized housing multi-apartment building right next to Elizabeth Bush School. That, in my mind, is not smart development. That, in my mind, is not the city looking after either the people in the neighborhood, those people in that housing unit, or Elizabeth Bush School.
We've had a problem for a long time. I can remember putting a tarp over the computers in the computer lab back before we all were given a computer back in the day, because they were afraid of the ceiling dripping on the computers. That's something we actively did. So I agree with everything that's been said here. I think that the city council's role, the best role for them is to be cheerleaders for the school. I see the great thing that these kids are doing. We should be going out there and doing that and communicating the problems and the solutions for that as well. And also planning. I think planning is absolutely critical and crucial because your environment determines your ability to learn.
Thank you for your service, by the way. You know, the government's job is to handle growth, right? Like you, in some ways, you are the growth, right? As a transplant, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I know that there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions to outsiders coming in. It's a free market. People are allowed to live where they are, right? We don't have the Chinese Communist Party saying like, sorry, you can't leave that city and move. Thank God. Ultimately, that's up to the voter for what you're describing, right? The city council doesn't control the bonds. You know, we put the bond up to a vote, and that's passed or denied by the voter. And I'm not sure that it's the role of the city council to launch a propaganda campaign to like try and convince the voter to do something. Like that's their decision. Put it to the vote. We make things as transparent as we can. We provide the information, and then the voter decides. To my knowledge, I think a bond did just recently pass, or at least in elementary school. So you know, that's good, I suppose. But if the voter is telling, you know, parents and students no, then the parents are. That's what the voters say, for good, bad, or otherwise.
So I have two children, one who just recently graduated from Idaho Falls School, District 91, one who is currently in the thick of it, freshman year at Skyline High. I am a big advocate of being a very active parent in my children's life, to the point that I was volunteering, things of that sort. I wound up being a substitute teacher at Hawthorne Elementary from time to time. I understand why some teachers drink wine regularly, because it is a very difficult, unforgiving job, very demanding. So, like Teresa had said, City Council doesn't have any say really in the bonds for the school. We do need to get and bring that communication together for what is going to be better for not only my kids, but your kids and the kids that I work with on a regular basis. So you gotta get in there. You need to be involved. You need to be involved. You need to be involved, whether it's your niece, nephew, grandchild, your neighbor.
Yeah. Thank you.
This question has to do with federally driven activities that are both similar in nature. The first was the forced vaccination and mask mandate under President Biden, Governor Little, Mayor Casper, and the existing city council. The second is President Trump's implementing of ICE and illegal alien enforcement, and how some communities have both city and public responded to such implementation. How would you, in the City Council, address each of these two similar but different federal directives?
All right, thank you. And Teresa, we're going to start with you.
So I completely 100% disagree with any mask mandates. I was sadly disappointed when City Council actually did pass what they did pass in 2020 and really did not allow the citizens to speak their mind during the City Council meetings. I almost lost my job with the Biden requirement for vaccinations. I did not get it. I will not get it. I'll lose my job because of it. I completely 100% disagree with those types of mandates to us as U.S. citizens and to us as Idaho Falls citizens. Regarding the ICE mandates, I know President Trump put out an executive order, and Brad Little in February 2025 put out a letter saying that he supports and he's requiring all the departments, all the police, to get on board with President Trump's executive order. I'm not sure what the hesitation is because I know the Bonneville County Sheriff has not spoken about it. I know there's only like 2 or 3 sheriffs in all of Idaho Falls that have joined on and said, yes, we're going to implement the policies that are in place that President Trump and now Brad Little had put in place. So that's all I know. It's out there. It just doesn't seem like people are getting on board with actually supporting the ICE activities.
Well, first of all, I would like to let everybody. I'm sorry.
Just 1 second.
Yeah. I apologize.
No, it's fine. Mine's quick.
That's what happens when you get old. You just.
No. It's mine's quick.
We still have. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We still got to go around.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
Yep, nope, you'll be next. So
Mine
it's
is-
easy to lose track when we're going
No
back
problem.
and forth.
No problem.
Mine is fast. I support the rule of law and I support legal immigration. That's my answer. Mask mandate, yes. And unfortunately, I support the rule of law. And if that is the law, unfortunately, we have to do. I'm sorry.
Okay, and
He was the president at the time. I know it's a contentious issue, guys. I'm sorry, but I have to ask myself, what would I do if I was in this position at that time? The same thing that I would do now, and if I'm in this position in the future, and that is supporting legal immigration. I'm sorry.
And it seems like there's a lot of interest on this topic. So if you have other questions, I'd ask you just to get in line so that you can ask those at the microphone. And we'll just move on right here to Brad.
I think that's a really good question for your congressman. Down here at City Council, there's very limited, we can do in that space. My entire platform is small government, which would generally be like, we're not making mandates. We're not telling people how to live their lives. People have been figuring things out for quite a while. Well, let's let them keep figuring things out. Now, at the time, given the information that people were armed with, I don't know, I'm 50-50. Obviously, in hindsight, it's always 20/20. And it's easy to look back on it like, that was the dumbest thing we ever did. It didn't help. And then, I visited family in Oregon, and they still had their mask mandates and their separations. So it was like very strange coming from Idaho Falls, where we had freedom, to go over to Oregon and be like, what do you mean I can't sit down in a restaurant? I have to go out and sit out in this tent that's enclosed? Like, that doesn't make sense. And so many things that the government tries to do start off as like smart ideas. You get this little good idea fairy whispering, and it just completely kind of falls apart. As far as the ICE, again, we're creatures of the state, and they're creatures of the federal government. What comes down from the top, we're kind of forced to get into line. I'm not sure what the city council would do in any decision or any capacity as it relates to immigration.
Jordan?
To say that it rolls downhill and we're just at the bottom of it, I don't know if necessarily is my take on it. In regards to the mask and the vaccine, I did not wear a mask. I did want to travel and I did want to go to a concert, so I did get the vaccine. Gasp away. But that was my choice, and I think everybody needs to have that choice. If it is, within their collective good for their health to wear a mask, good, great, grand. Not for me. I was not necessarily a fan of the lockdown. I was considered an essential worker. So I did have the luxury of being able to be out and about and not have to be quarantined and whatnot. In regards to the ICE, I too am for legal immigration. That could be a huge old separate conversation in regards to ICE and their actions. So we can discuss that at a later date and time.
And Mosy.
When it comes to mandates, if I'm honest, I expanded my business into to doing concerts in March 3rd of 2020. Everything shut down March 17th. If I would have gone by all the mandates, I would have been shut down just based off of how economics work. But at the end of the day, I see the mandates as more as guidelines, and I do believe that the government should educate us on what is happening, give us some guidelines, have us make our own choices. And so at the end of the day, I did some things. I made sure my microphones were clean and all those things. I didn't make people wear masks, but I encouraged it if they had that worry. So I believe in that choice, and I believe that the government should be educating those things. Because if I would have treated the mandate as law, I would have been shut down, and I wouldn't be the person I am today. And so that's just not going to happen for me. We need to make sure that we're looking at things from a human perspective, and humanity is complicated. When it comes to ICE, like you're saying, I don't know really how much city council has to do with those things. But I am somebody that believes in law. If something is illegal, treat it as illegal. If something is illegal, treat it as legal. How we go about that matters. Please don't just grab somebody because we think that they might be illegal. But we need to make sure that we're intentional about those things, just like with the mandates.
All right. Thank you. Next question.
What I want to do is give you guys a lesson in history, forward thinking, forward planning, for the people, by the people. When I first bought a house in Issaquah, Washington, I only paid $21,000 for it. As time went by, of course, inflation takes a hit now and then. When I moved here 15 years ago, our taxes have gained twofold. We're paying more property taxes now than we've ever paid, and it's keep going up. Houses have doubled in price. Groceries have doubled in price. Gas has doubled in price. The average gas in the United States is $2.67 a gallon. I think ours is what, $3.49 a gallon? I don't know, my wife she fills the car up all the time. But anyway, I want to give you a lesson in history. I paid $21,000 for that house, okay? When we moved to Idaho Falls, we were so happy because the cost of living was almost equal with the wages. And young kids could go buy a house. They can't buy a house now because they got to pay, what, $80,000, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 down?
So what would you like to have them respond to?
Let me finish this. This is a lesson in history. When I left Issaquah, right today, my house I paid $21,000 for, sold for $1,700,000. Can you just imagine what it would be like in Idaho Falls if a child had to save money to buy a house for $1 million? Gas in Issaquah was $6 a gallon. Even though we are above the national average, $6 a gallon. Can you imagine going back and forth to work for $6 a gallon? So it is up to you guys. I don't know which one of you are going to get elected to the board. To forward think. Think about the future of the kids. That's the important thing. That's it.
You got it. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll begin on this question with Christopher.
Just thank you very much for the history lesson. I do appreciate that. This goes along the lines with someone sitting in this position in seat 2 needs to value every bit of input that comes over that microphone whenever there's a meeting, because we can all learn from everything we're told. Just to kind of play into this, I bought my house in 2018 here in Idaho Falls. I had to get a job in a different state in order to make that happen. I had to drive 13 hours one way to get to work in a very hostile environment in order to buy the house I had. So I feel for that, I understand that, and I hope that we have the ability and capabilities to remedy that. because I want my kids. I want my third grandchild's going to be born in November. I want my grandchildren to be able to have the opportunity to own a home because it has been amazing. It's been a pain in the neck, but it's been amazing.
Brad, go ahead.
Look, I feel the pain as well. Like, I am a younger candidate. Me and my wife would like to buy a house, and we're well-paid individuals. And not to brag, but it's wildly expensive, right? We're looking at houses that are $400,000, $500,000 here in Idaho Falls. This younger generation's cooked if we don't do something. The median income, household income, is like $60,000. A police officer in Idaho Falls, if they have a single person in their house, if it's them and one other person, and he's the only person working, he is considered low income. Like, that's how bad it is. Now, you're talking about your houses, your groceries, everything have doubled. I think a lot of that anger should be pointed towards the feds. From 2015 to 2025, the money supply has doubled in 10 years. It's a runaway train, and we just don't seem to have congressmen that can sort of break this addiction of printing money. And it makes me mad. Like, as a younger person, like, I'm never going to be able to get ahead to climb this economic ladder. Now, locally, has a lot to do with house prices. Right? We have people campaigning on this principle where we're going to stop building. This is the opposite of my campaign. I think that the government should be limited. I think it should be permissive, because if we stop building, one of two things happen. Prices either skyrocket, right? Simple supply and demand, or people have to move elsewhere. Like, I don't want my kids to have to move to Ohio to be able to find a roof over their heads.
So just like Brad, I am not a homeowner. I too would love to be able to buy. I would love for my children to be able to have that experience as well. In regards to the history lesson with Issaquah, I am from that neck of the woods, so I'm very familiar with the ridiculousness that is the cost of living, especially over there. So thank you for the reminder. I actually have to go over there in a couple of weeks, so I'm going to pinch my pennies ahead of time. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough across the board. And like Brad said, it's not necessarily a city level. The printing of the money endlessly, like Brad said, is definitely a problem on a much larger scale.
Yeah, that is very much a mainly federal issue that needs to be dealt with, and that's why it's important to connect. That's why it's important to vote in these elections. Reason being is because city council people, mayors, legislators, representatives, they go to Boise. They are able to represent us more, and so that it's a trickle up method. It's not it doesn't really work trickle down as well. Trickle up method where we can actually start making those changes when we vote locally for people who understand what is going on around here. And yeah, like I was saying before, I'm more in favor of incentivizing people who are building to invest in the local community, incentivizing, not regulating. And so my two-part answer for that is vote locally. Make sure that those locals understand what we need, and let's see that representation all throughout, all the way up to the federal level, as well as making sure that the development that is happening is keeping money in Idaho Falls, and making sure that we're investing in the local businesses. Because if we're able to do that, then the wealth is shared amongst our community, and that's going to keep things at an affordable level.
Okay, I'm going right back to Imagine IF, the Comprehensive Growth and Development Plan of Idaho Falls. That is what says what the growth plan is. And Imagine IF has to be reimagined, lack of a better word. We need to focus it on the single family dwellings, the smaller starter homes. If we can just direct our comprehensive plan that's on the city website for what the citizens actually want, which is starter homes, smaller homes, homes with yards for kids to play in, that's what needs to be done on day one.
All right, thank you so much. Brett.
Thank you for being on the stage tonight. I've been there. It's not a comfortable moment for the 2 hours. No, I'm good. Thank you. Planning and zoning last night was a huge eye opener to me. R1 zone, which is single family, which I understood was a single dwelling, non-attached. School, church, all in one community. A developer comes in for a conditional use permit for, I think it was about 3 acres, wanting to put a threeplex attached townhouse complex, but they're still single family homes. I'm going to go over. I'm so sorry.
At least he warned you.
The city attorney and the administrator both advised the P&Z council that they could only focus at what the guidelines are for a R1 zone. So in my mind, attached is not allowed. The administrator comes in and says, he's asking for an additional conditional use permit. So he's asking for something other than what an R1 zone is for. The administrator speaks up and says, we commonly do similar projects like this in R1 zone. So everybody's here concerned about why we're having such a confusion about zoning. My advice is whoever gets elected, understand the zones. Read them, understand them, lead them to the letter of the law, to what they are. I also was sitting down with another candidate in a different race today, and their comment was, I hate the comment that that's what we've always done. So when I come into city council as a developer, which I am, and I want a conditional use permit, and I want to put a 4-story apartment complex right next to a single family dwelling, and staff and attorneys are telling you we commonly do this, but it is, in my opinion, completely against an R1 zone. How are you going to handle that?
Maybe this is too simple an answer, but we don't do that anymore. That would be my answer.
So you brought up the 4-story building again. That doesn't make sense to me. The tricky part, seems the room's divided. We want cheaper housing, but we don't want to build townhomes that people can actually afford. Right? We have this, we're going to go build affordable single-family houses. Like, well, then do it. You don't have to wait till you're on city council. They cost what they cost, right? These developers are not, I'm sure you're not a charity, right? You're not taking a loss on anything you build. So they're building what people can buy, and that's townhomes. Real tricky situation with planning and zoning, right? We have to abide by LUPA, Local Land Use Planning Act. So the attorney's probably right. Like, if that's what R1 says, and these guidelines say, this is what counts as single family housing, and this is the guidelines on how to adjudicate a comprehensive use permit, then the city council has 2 options. They either approve it or they get the taxpayers embroiled in a lawsuit. Like, those are the options. We do not sit as a king. We cannot say, like, there's laws that are in place that we have to follow. I say this as someone who's sued the county over planning and zoning. There's laws in place. They didn't follow the laws. So now the taxpayers of Custer County paid expensive legal fees. Now, that's not all for naught, right? We could change the comprehensive plan to make more sense, and maybe there's room to do that. But what you're describing, it sounds like the commissioners and the attorneys avoided a expensive and costly lawsuit.
So I am not familiar with all of the zonings probably as much as Brad, because you're little P&Zs. That is something that I'm willing to learn. And if it's not allowed, it's not allowed. It's kind of black and white, in my opinion. And to just go, oh, well, we've gotten away with it, that's when the muddy water, and that's when it gets really, really gray. And if it's not allowed, it's not allowed. For just plain and simple. I don't know what else you want me.
I've been directly a victim of one business being allowed to do something and then mine not being allowed to do that. It is the reason why I was virtually unemployed for 9 months when the city essentially misrepresented that I was not supposed to be open. It's a whole nother thing. You can ask me about it later. If they would have held the former business that was in my building accountable, then I wouldn't have almost lost my home. I wouldn't have almost lost my car. I had to change my custody schedule because of it. It was the worst year of my life. And if I struggled with self-harm, that would have been the year, because somebody decided to give special treatment to somebody else. So we can't keep doing those things at all. So yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. I don't care who you know. I know a good amount of people, and we had somebody take their own life because they were treated unfairly in the community. They were treated unfairly in the community. They ended up taking their own life. And let me tell you, it wasn't that they didn't have money. They had money. What they didn't have is the support from the city and consistency from the city to say this is what we need. That's why we need the local business advocates as well to stand up and say, hey, you can't do this to this person and then go ahead and do this for another person. We can't have that. We need advocacy within the development department that says, hey, these are the rules, follow these rules, and you will end up at this place. That's what we need, clarity.
All right. And we'll have this be the last question of the evening, but go ahead and finish. I'm just letting it be known this will be our last question after.
Yeah, it's a good question. I completely agree that the zoning should be the zoning. And I completely disagree in the scope creep that we've had with developers. It seems like the city, again with Imagine IF, is putting developers first and then changing the codes to appease or help the developers. I think that things like conditional use permits or planned use developments, I just learned about those today, they throw the codes out the window because they're planning a complex, a big complex, so they throw the zoning codes out the window and they approve this large complex like the one that is right by Home Depot. That's a planned use development. And it's approved differently than with the city, with the approval of the city council. So that has to stop. But on the other hand, I think that the city needs to work with the business owners and with the developers to find solutions, like with the business owners to help them get up to code and stuff like that. And just be an advocate for the city, not an advocate for the developers.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Lisa.
All right, thank you all for being here, and for those I know personally, I'm happy to see you getting involved in this race. And but there is one thing I have heard tonight across the table. There are misunderstandings on how government works. For every single one of you have had a misunderstanding here or there about how government works or what the city council is supposed to be doing. I know that some of you have gone to have, so in a two-part question also, have all of you been to a city council meeting? And when you get elected to city council, who are you going to turn to remedy your misunderstandings? How are you going to find out the truth?
Okay, and we'll come right back down here and start with Brad.
So I've been to public hearings. I have not been to the Idaho Falls, the open meetings. Googling one. I'd be curious on what my misunderstanding is, so maybe we could chat after. But I mean, there's a lot of guidance and support structure, as I understand it, provided as well, right? There's a legal counsel, like this is your job. But the three tenets, as far as I'm concerned, or that I know to be reality, is we've got the budget, we've got local land use planning, and then we have local ordinances. So those are the three main areas for city council. That's all I got.
I've already openly said I am as green as they come when to this. So, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do what needs to be done. In regards to not knowing how it works, I don't know. I've never been to a city council meeting. This is my first city council anything ever. And I've been here for a little over 10 years. Who would I go to help remedy or bridge that? You go to your neighbor. You go to your friend. You go to one of your best friends who's a small business owner here in town. You go to them and see what, as Christopher keeps saying, as you are my boss, what can I do differently, more, less of, to be better for the city as a whole?
At some point in my life, I was almost a youth pastor. I was also almost I also worked as a associate pastor for a little bit. And so I know my Bible back and forth. And one of the things that the Bible says is don't speak unless you have that wisdom. And so like I said at the top of my 3 minutes at the beginning, when I don't know, I listen. And I have already been doing that. So if you look at my social media right now and see the people that I've met with on a regular basis, the only ones I haven't posted are the department heads that I've already gone and talked to. I've gone and talked to as many department heads as I've been able to. I had to cancel some because of some personal issues. But I have made it a point for every one of the policies that I want to see enacted, that I run that by current city council people, former city council people, and department heads, and ask them, is this something that's feasible? So having those conversations and sitting down is exactly how I plan on learning those, learning where I'm misstepping, and dropping my ego a little bit, and hearing, hey, you can't do that, or hey, you can do this, or and having them guide me with wisdom instead of me just acting like I have all the wisdom. So I have already been meeting with multiple department heads, already been meeting with the former, current, and future, and probable future city council people, and I'm going to continue to do that throughout if I am a city council member. I don't think it's that hard to do. It's very easy to send an email, send a text, pick up a phone. We can do that.
All right, Teresa?
Yes, I have been to a city council meeting. We were the only two there. It was very long, other than the developers that wanted to get their approvals, wanted to speak for their approvals. Lisa, I'm not sure what you mean by we all had like misspoken something. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I'd like to speak to you afterwards. Just asking experts. There's experts out there. There's people that know the government much better than I do, and just asking questions if I don't have the answers.
So first part, yes, I have been to meetings. As a child, I was at meetings, as I mentioned to you, with the whole Arkansas box store debacle. We had to be there to defend our property, and I was there with my parents, and so I saw how things were handled or mishandled, however you want to interpret that. And I was also going to meetings quite frequently after I ran for state representative back in 2013. So I have been, and I am sorry if I misspoke. I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So, but remedying misunderstandings in general, it's communication. It's communication. It's understanding, who you work for. It's the basic. I'm going to throw around a slogan. I'm sorry. It's the basic thing that I've been running on. It's the idea of listen, learn, and work, and that's the portion of my campaign. So ready to listen, ready to learn, ready to work.
All right. Well, thank you all, and thank you for all of you who took time to ask questions. We're going to do the final statements, so your closing of 3 minutes. So it's up on you, Jordan. You're up.
I do not have 3 minutes up here. I do want to thank you for dealing with me, bearing it with me. I thank you for your grace. And if I were to win, I would hope to do you proud. Yeah, like I've said, and Christopher said, listen, learn, work. The few, not the few, my friends that know me know that I'm a hard worker, and I'm a gal of my word. So, yeah, let me work for you. Why not? Why not? Why not? Okay, go.
All right, Mosy.
Practical, everyday solutions that make sense for everybody in the community and are clear. That's all. That's all I want to do. That's it. I don't want to. I'm a performer. I get up on stage sometimes. I host events. I can get you hyped up. I can do that. But I'd rather give you practical, everyday solutions that I can feasibly do within my term as the city council person. And I hope that you've heard me communicate that. I don't want to hype you up right now. What I want to do is communicate that I am part of this community, and I have been for a long time. The question that I want you guys to answer in your heads and in your communities is who was here before? Who was serving the community before? Who's going to serve the community the best in office? And who's going to serve the community if they lose? Because I don't intend to stop anything that I'm doing. I've been a part of stopping suicide attempts in my own building. I've been a part of talking teens through pregnancy scares. I've been a part of situations of abuse where I've helped these people, and I wasn't getting paid for that. Not a cent. Matter of fact, I paid a lot for that. So for my closing remarks, is what we're talking about practical? Is it connected to the community? And can we actually do it? Because at the end of the day, if we cannot actually do it, what's the point? So we can talk all day about regulating this and that, but if it's not actually in our scope, then why are we even talking about it? If you don't have an actual practical step, why are we talking about it? We should be talking about the baseline issues. And right now, the community is doesn't feel connected to the city government. It just doesn't. And that's something that I can practically solve. Local businesses are not supported in the community, and that is something I could practically solve. Public transportation, that's something that we can solve together. That's something that we can talk about as a council. That's something that we can build a better plan for. But my first two things, transparency and local business advocacy, I could do that. I could do that myself. It wouldn't be that hard as a city council person to stand up, to do a video for you guys so you guys know what's going on in the community. So that's my connection to you, is that I will continue to be me.
Thank you. And Teresa?
Okay, I'm going to start with a plea for voting. People are not voting in these local elections, yet they are the elections that affect us most on a local level. Brad had mentioned, I think it's 5,500 people voted in 2023 in the local elections. We got to get people out to vote. We got to get people registered. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your teller at your supermarket. If they want to see change in Idaho Falls, we have to get out to vote and show them that we don't like the direction that this city is going in right now. And it's the current city council, the current mayor that is bringing us into the direction through Imagine IF. And we think, we the citizens should say, we think it's time for change.
And finally, Christopher.
First of all, thank you to Stand Up Idaho. Thank you to our beautiful moderator.
Thank
Appreciate all of this. It is humbling to be rubbing shoulders here with people who are so intelligent and so pragmatic and so charismatic. I'm honored, so thank you to all of you. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of you for being out here. It's a little disheartening, as was said earlier, to see a little bit less than there was last Wednesday. But like Teresa said, vote. Get out there and vote. If you don't vote, you're saying that you're okay with however it turns out. And if you're not okay with that, well, what does that say if you didn't go out and vote? So, but again, I appreciate all of you folks. I love y'all. This is Idaho Falls. This is my town, and I'm so glad we're all in it together. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And Brad?
I don't know everyone that's running personally, but I think I can be happy to say that I think everyone that is running is doing so as an act of service. I don't think anyone's up here doing so for their own personal gain. I think everyone has a vision for Idaho Falls. I think we all have an ideas what we think is going to be good for Idaho Falls, and we're all up here to offer them to the citizens, which is a great feeling even if I don't win. I think as you go to vote for your city councilor or councilman, or you go to vote for your next mayor, I think my advice would be look for solutions, not platitudes. And then do those solutions make sense when the rubber hits the road? What does that actually look like for someone to implement? Judging by applause, I would say I've probably been the unpopular candidate here with my view towards housing, that developers and people should be allowed to build. That we can gnash our teeth, but we can't make single-family housing come back in any cheaper manner unless we take from the taxpayers to do it. If we subsidize it, then we can do it. But I'm not willing to do that. So the answer is, we have this two wolves raging inside of everyone. I think that we hate the apartments, we hate the developers, but we also hate high house prices. Well, you can't have both. Like, you can let the developers build, increase that supply to meet the demand, thus dropping the price, or you can reduce the supply. So as you go to vote, you really have two options. Idaho Falls isn't going to affect the demand. You can either build or you can not build. And if you do not build, one of two things will happen. The houses will skyrocket, or builders and people will go elsewhere. There's really not in any economic model, there's not another solution. There's not another outcome of that. Or possibly both. You could have things get more expensive and people will leave to Ammon, Shelley, places surrounding. Idaho Falls gets the traffic because that's where people go, and we do not get the tax base to provide those services for the people that are now traveling through Idaho Falls, wearing down our roads. So anyways, I think Idaho Falls is in good hands either way, but get out and vote. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for coming out. I'm going to turn the time over to Doug, but remember, get out and vote on November 4th.
All right, let's give everybody another big hand. And it's like a comment was made. It's not easy coming up here and taking on these questions. And I'll say this now: if you don't like what they're saying and think why aren't you up here? If you don't like what's happening and all that, why aren't you up here? Okay, because that's what it actually is going to take. And so let's give them a big hand for putting themselves out there and making this happen. And thank you guys so much. And actually, there are two other candidates for this seat, and they'll be here in 2 weeks. And so, again, I encourage you, everybody here. We all I don't get a vote. I don't live in the city, but if you're in the city, get a vote for all these folks, and come and ask them all the hard questions. And the other two that are coming in 2 weeks for this seat, you've got to pick between the seven. Okay, and so it's very, very important to do that. And so. And let's give Jolene a big hand for her helping us and everything out. I think it's really great, and thank everybody so much. Next week, just a quick reminder, we're going to have the public defenders here, a couple of public defenders here. It's going to be very interesting to hear what they say. 2 weeks, we're going to have city council seats, rest of seat 2, 4, and 6. Again, if you support any of the candidates, be sure to come and, be their cheering section and definitely pay attention to it. So, and another thing, Rumble, okay? Get on there. Yeah, Rumble, like us, share us. It's all about algorithms. Do we know what that word is? Yeah, I've learned it. I learned it a while back, but it's an algorithm, and the more that people like and do all this stuff, the more it generates and the more it goes. And that will definitely help stand up for Idaho. Because, again, like I say, we do this for you. Okay? Everybody's doing this, and myself and Rod and folks, we don't make a nickel off. The fact is we pay more off than we fund a lot of it out of ourselves. And so we would really appreciate you donating to the jar, doing what we can with Rumble and these other things to help us do this, okay? I have a lot of people say, hey, I really like what we do here, what we do at Stand Up for Idaho. You ask your question, okay? If you want us to continue in all of this, we need your help. Just to be bold, we need your help to do that. And to do that, throw some money in the jar, get on Rumble, get your friends on Rumble, and just YouTube and all that jazz and help us as best as you can. And I appreciate that. And also, you know, you need to buy a raffle ticket. This is a wonderful, I don't know if you haven't come up and looked at this. This is an amazing wood flag that they actually carved and made for us for America 250. And it's a great thing. And a question? I can't read his name. I can't read his name. He's like all artists, you know. They do this type of stuff. Actually, and it was not made in the state of Idaho. So anyway, I appreciate that. Again, I appreciate you all very, very much. We hope to see you next week. Please make sure you're signed in. That way I can send you an email once just letting you know what's coming up, and we can make this happen. So thank you all. Be safe going home, and take care. See you next week.